All right, today, starting a new project. I guess a couple of new projects. One involves this old truck right here, and another involves filming as I am. Never really done that before. I don't know who is going to be watching this. You watching this right now, I don't know who you are. You might be Ashby. You might be some other member of my family at some point in the future. Might be a future version of me reminiscing. Could be some huge, yet to be cultivated YouTube following. Who knows? But I just feel like I have the technology, and I really enjoy messing around with junk. I enjoy YouTube channels that mess around with junk, and I just kind of want to try my hand at making my contribution. So this should be pretty fun. So the project vehicle here, I have a lot of history with it. I've owned it, well, sort of. I don't actually have a title to it, so I guess somebody else owns it. But I own it physically and have for the last 20-ish years. I got it in high school for free from my great uncle, who had it for at least 20 years before that. Basically, it was rotting down in the woods outside his house. Retired. And when I was a little kid, I'd go hang out with my cousins, and I would just fawn all over this truck. You know, it was in a time when I was a kid, everybody drove Chevy square bodies, and they all had the inline six, and they either had some wimpy automatic or they had the 3-speed on the column. And at a time when that was the norm, Uncle Sneed's truck was a big old V8 and a big old 4-speed, and it had a reputation for being a beast. So I always loved the truck. Never moved, always sat there. And eventually I got up the nerve to ask him if, you know, I could haul it off. And he said yes. He wasn't very forthcoming with a title, but I don't care. It's not like I was going to drive it on the road anyway. And so I got it running. And, you know, looking back now, considering all the work I've done to other vehicles since, it's really kind of amazing how little work I did to the truck. Basically, I did a lot of body work on it. The body actually looks better now than it did when I pulled it out of the woods 20 years ago, which is, I think, you know, I'm a little bit proud of that. It had holes all in the body, and there were sections missing, and I backed them up with sheet metal and Bondoed over them, and sprayed it with the gun and Rust-Oleum. And I think it's held up pretty well. Mechanically, I really didn't do very much. I put a boat fuel tank in it. I put a carburetor kit in it. I put a set of spark plugs in it. Changed the oil. Obviously, put a battery in it. Beat on the starter a bunch. And poured water in the radiator, and that's pretty much it. As far as the brake and clutch hydraulics, I have never broken a bleeder screw on this truck. Not a one. Somehow, unbelievably, I just poured fluid into the master cylinder. It's a shared cylinder between the clutch and the brakes, and I just poured fluid in it, and they both pumped up to where, you know, I could get the clutch to release, and the brakes stopped the truck and didn't leak. So absolutely amazing. You know, I've never had a brake rotor off of the truck. I've rarely even had the wheels off until recently. I put a set of 265 1631s on it just so I could roll it around the yard. But that's really pretty much the extent of the work I did to it, and I drove it around the house here and around the farm as a farm use truck for a long time. Now, the problem with it was that the engine is just totally worn out. I don't know a ton about these old International engines, but Basically, all the fluids mixed together. You've got fuel in the oil, you've got oil in the coolant, you've got coolant in the oil, and there's probably exhaust getting in somewhere, to the extent that even with these oil burner caps on it, I don't know if you can see, but the spark plugs aren't actually threaded into the head. There's these oil burner caps with these little holes in them that are supposed to keep oil from splashing on the spark plugs. Basically, the rule was I could put a brand new set of spark plugs in it, start it up, drive it around once on 8 cylinders. The next time I started it, it would be on 7 at most. So that was a pain. That wasn't the greatest thing ever. And I don't know whether it was blow-by or the fact that it loaded up really badly, or the fuel pump leaking, or a combination of all of them. But despite the fact that it smoked like a train and obviously burned a lot of oil, actually the oil level would go up over time because it would become more and more thinned down with fuel. I actually had a crankcase explosion one time. I was out here trying to crank it, and I believe it was this valve cover. It looks really good considering. I think you can see a little bit of distortion here. It blew open like Jiffy Pop on the top side over here. I mean, loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. And my response to that, of course, was to bend the valve cover back down, bolt it back down, and try again to start it. So the engine's in pretty rough shape. I started thinking about doing something with this truck a couple of months ago, and of course my plan was to get the old engine running. But the problem with that is that first of all, the engine's in terrible shape, and you know, while it would be fun to hear it run for a weekend, and maybe even drive it around, doing so would cost several $100s in parts at minimum, and it would be a one-time thing. I know the condition of the engine, and that's best case scenario, because when I actually parked the truck, it wasn't because of the engine, it was because of the clutch. The clutch stopped disengaging, and it wasn't the master cylinder. Apparently there's something going on inside the bell housing. You know, all stuff I could fix, but it's not worth it, because you know, what am I ever going to do with this truck? I don't have a title to it. The body's rotten. If it was in pristine condition, it really wouldn't be much good to me. So what I'm going to do is radiator out to where I can get the engine forward, pull the engine out. I'm going to put a secondary shaft on it with a big old 62 sprocket and a centrifugal clutch on a 10 horsepower Tecumseh. I'm going to try to do a really good job of fabricating everything, make it reliable. I'm going to fix the front brakes only, probably. Because of the centrifugal clutch, I need to put some kind of parking brake on it. And otherwise, I need to address the floorboard, which is less than ideal. But the idea is to make a reliable giant power wheels for my son and my little nephews and nieces, that they can run around on the farm, you know, maybe top out 15-20 miles an hour, run all day on a gallon of gas. It can sit for a couple of months and then fire up. It's just kind of a cool project. So that's what I'm doing. All right, status update. Radiator and fan shroud are out, fans off, and the last wire connected to the engine, the big old fat one connected to the starter, has been disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and sawzall the exhaust out from underneath it, and then I believe we're ready to start unbolting the engine. So that's pretty exciting. Alright, footage missing of sawzalling the exhaust, but it's out from under it. That's quite a pro high performance Y pipe union. I don't really think they were looking for a ton of performance back then. Alright. It's snowing in Southside, so you do what you got to do. Waste quality product. Good old oil bath, air cleaner. Luckily, this thing has a choke somewhere. How does it work? There we go. Choke it. See if I can find a rag to throw over it. Alright. And despite the fact that, in all likelihood, I'll probably never use this engine for anything, I'm gonna try my best to not mess it up. Out of respect. Because it moved this old truck a long ways and did a lot of work. How about that right there? What up?
Man, your paint job is awesome.
Huh?
The paint job is awesome.
It was done 20 years ago.
I like this textured look.
Yeah, it's called barnacles.
Is the tripod working out with you?
Sure. Hey, say cute stuff.
As long as this thing isn't in my yard, I'm cool.
I painted it with Rust-Oleum 20 years ago as a teenager outside where it's sitting right now, and it looked better than it did when I pulled it out of the woods, okay?
No judgment, just not at my house. Not in my backyard.
Mm-hmm. NIMBY.
Yep.
Welcome to some serious engineering. We got the counterweights. Here, there you go. Battery hanging there from the handle. Engine out of the truck. Pretty good. Now what I need to do is roll the truck back, because obviously can't roll a hoist on the dirt. Tighten back up on me. It's moving. Walking out of my Crocs. Get on back. Get it on the truck. Let's go. Oop. Didn't break. The bumper's mighty floppy. How much more do I have? Alright, there it is. Bring it around. Other than the absence of this thing, what I'm really after is dead center right here. I know the light's bad and you can't really see anything, but I need the hub out of the clutch disc to make my secondary shaft. I have the engine on the stand, and I have the clutch disc. So this thing, it's all riveted together. I don't know exactly how, but I know all those rivets are going to have to go. Clutch disc assembled, disassembled. Hub seems like it's pretty substantial. Just this pressed piece on it. I mean, I guess it's like a stamping. So yeah, should just be able to drive everything out from here. Let's see what I can do. That is what I'm after. I believe that's all one piece turned. Not too bad. Should probably take the time, drive the rest of those rivets out there, but this right here is what I was after. Hoping I can find a piece of pipe that is close enough to fitting on this OD. Behold. All right. Got the pillow block up front. There we go. It's spinning on the shaft, as you get the idea.